everybody, Charlie Stevens here once again. Thank you so much for joining me for another guitar lesson. Today, just wanted to show you another cool trick for the guitar. So this is a trick called a pedal point, okay? And I believe the terminology comes from organ. They had pedals. They had manuals, which were like keyboards that you'd use your hands on, right? But they also have these giant keyboards-looking types of things. They're, you know, they look like the keys on a piano, but they're pedals meant to be played with your feet. And so a lot of times the one you'd play with your foot would just be a constant tone over and over again, dun, 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 as you played other stuff with your hands on top of it. So that's why we call it a pedal. It's similar to a drone. A drone is a tone that just kind of happens, letting that A ring out, as you can hear, right? In this case, I was doing an A drone. So it's kind of a similar idea of a pedal point, but instead of just playing one note and letting it ring out, we actually play that note over and over and over again, in between every other note, basically. Okay? So we're going to do this on a G major scale using our open G string. So if you've seen the video about how to play a G major scale on one string, please check that out if you haven't watched that, okay? So that is actually more difficult than what we're going to do today. Today we're going to add what's called a tonic pedal. So we're in the key of G, as I just mentioned. That means G is the tonic. So tonic pedal means I'm going to add the note G in. So instead of playing the scale in order like that, I'm going to repeatedly come back to the open string. Okay, does that make sense? It's actually easier to do because when I'm not playing the open string, I have to hold down each note until it's time for the next note, and I have to shift position and, you know, be really careful about the fingers I use and stuff like that. When I have this open string in between each note, I don't really have to be that careful. I can use whatever finger I want. I can just float over there while the open string rings out, right? This has a lot of applications that are more advanced. We're just going to talk about the basic concept today and how to do this because I think it's really fun. Okay, so let's just do what I just did first. In example number one, we're going to go alternate picking all the way, only on our G string. So down, up on G. Then we go to our next note in the scale, happens to be on the 2nd fret, right? We go down, up there as well, but we let go back to the open G on our up. Right back down. We're not going to hold there. Okay, so that's it. Let's do that together, okay? 1 and 2 and ready and go. Okay, great job. That was example number one. So we can play example number one with pull-offs as well. So I was plucking each note, and I'm going to have to do that on the open G. 1 and on that second note we play, we're going to have to use an upstroke. But then, instead of an upstroke on the open G, after I play the 2nd fret, I can pull off. Okay? So this is something we talked about very early on in this channel. Please go back to the basic guitar lesson playlist and look for that in our early videos where we talked about hammer-ons and pull-offs, if you're not sure what a hammer-on or a pull-off is. But basically, I have to play this 2nd fret and then I would let go and I'd play the open string, right? So instead, I don't play the string again, but I remove my finger and I pull off with kind of a little bit of force. I kind of, see, I can pluck the strings. That just sounds like my open G that I usually would use this hand, but see, I can use this hand to kind of pluck the string. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm holding the second fret and I pluck that. Now I'm pretending I'm plucking the string with my left hand and I pull off. Okay, so this is a tricky technique if you're new to this, but it's really cool and it will really strengthen your fingers. It's a great test of how strong your hands are because these hammer-ons and pull-offs are the ultimate test of your dexterity. So if you're practicing these a lot, not only will you help get those cleaner, but everything else on the guitar that you play will be improved by it because it really demands technical effort. So that's a good thing, but it also does mean it's challenging. So, take your time with this. Go easy on yourself. It's tricky at first, and if you can't get it, you can always use an upstroke like we just did. Okay? But we're going to try it with the pull-offs this time. So here it is, example number 1 again, this time all with pull-offs. 1 and 2 and ready and go and... Okay, it's a little hard to do at that speed and have them sound good. They're a little quiet, okay? Usually we would do this a little faster and you can use the attack. So when I play a string, gradually gets quieter and quieter until you can't even hear it, right? So if I wait too long, it's going to be a pretty quiet pull off. But if I do the pull off pretty quickly after the attack, it will have all the volume from the attack, right? So let me try that again a little bit faster, and then we can kind of hear this in a little bit of a different way, a little bit faster. Hopefully they'll sound a little cleaner. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Next, we can do what's called a dominant pedal. So the dominant is the nickname for the 5th note of a scale. So if we're in the key of G, G is the tonic, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th note of that scale happens to be D, and D is the dominant, okay, of G. So we can do a dominant pedal. So what that means is that instead of playing the tonic note, the open G string in between each note of our scale, we're going to play the open D string in between each note, okay? Okay, so this is a little bit tricky because we have to do what's called inside picking. So we go down on the G and then up on D. So my pick had to be in between those 2 strings. So we call that inside because it goes in between the 2 strings, it goes down on G, then it has to go back in between the 2 strings and up on D. Okay? So there's also a term outside picking, which would be another term we use for when we're picking on 2 strings to do it the other way, where we approach from the outside. Like, so if we started this on a G with our up, and then we did a down on D, that would be outside picking. See how when I approach G, I'm outside of that 2-string set, I'm coming in from the outside and I pluck up on G, then I keep going this way, then I'm coming from the outside, pluck down on D. Okay? I like that one better, outside picking, versus inside. I found inside to be a little bit more challenging because you have to get right in there and be a little bit more precise, right? However, we can't always choose. We're going to want to be really good at doing both, okay? But we will talk about how we might be able to make some choices with this. But if we're picking both of them, we typically would do it like this, where we're doing inside. Okay, let's try that together. Example number 2 with inside picking. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so that is good because it follows the rules we've talked about for picking eighth notes, where we want to put the down beats with down strokes. So if we do that and we follow those rules, we end up with inside picking. If we break those rules, we could do something called reverse alternate picking, which we just flip it around. Now the down beats we'll use an upstroke for. Okay? And then the off beats we'll use a downstroke for. Okay? So basically, we're going to go up, down. In this context, it makes sense because now it allows for outside picking. So I don't always like reverse alternate picking unless there's a specific reason. In this case, the reason is it allows for outside picking, and I find that easier. So let's do that together. We're going to do example number 2, this time with reverse alternate picking. So that means we're going to start with an up on the G and always a down on the D. Okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so picking is like a lifelong study, so take what you can from this lesson. This is getting into advanced territory, so if you're not a beginner and you're watching this and this is new for you, and you should really check this out and get, put your picking under the microscope because there's a lot to check out here. So we're going to cover some stuff like this here, but I just wanted to kind of point out this is not really beginner stuff. So if you're following along with this course and you are a beginner, take whatever you can from this lesson, but don't worry too much about some of the things with the outside picking and all that because it is a little bit advanced. Okay, but hopefully you're getting a little bit of that, and as you get to the stage where you're learning more about it, you're primed to understand it better. Okay, in example number 3, we're going to do something really cool where we mix these together. If I can come back to the tonic every time and I can do the dominant every time, well, why can't I do them both? I can do them both each time. Okay, so this is something that nobody ever showed me. I just thought sounded cool, and I said, well, if I can do one and I can do the other whenever I want, what happens if I do them both? And I like the sound of it. So that works out like this. Alright, so we're getting a little bit more advanced here. There's a lot more moving parts now than our first just single string. So, keep up with me if you can, but don't worry if not. Come back to this lesson down the road when you're ready for it. Come back to the end here. So we'll go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So I'm alternating. Each time I get to the D string, I'm playing the opposite, right? So the first time I go down, up on the G, and then down on D. Okay, so that was a down on D. Next, I'm going to go up first on G, up, down, then I go up on D. Okay, so it's constantly reversing. Okay, and that keeps with strict alternate picking. So it's a little tricky because the pattern keeps changing, but it's cool because the pattern doesn't really change in one way of looking at it. If you're looking at just the down and up, downs are always on strong beats, ups are always on the eighth notes. So that part stays consistent. So that's good about it. When you look at how it lays out over the strings, it alternates different patterns, right? So that's a cool thing. So we can also do this one with pull-offs as well. Okay, and then in that one, I can do all outside picking again. Technically, it would be down, up on G, down on D, and then it would be up, pull off. Now the pull off goes in the time of the down. So technically, I would do an up still on D. But I can just do a down instead. So a pull off with an up, and then I just did an up. Now I can do a down on D. Now I can go to G and do an up again, pull off, down on D. So that puts it back to like outside picking if we do that trick, right? It's the exact same as when we did outside, where we always did up on G and down on D. But we need a pull off to accommodate that. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So this third exercise is challenging. So just kind of get what you can from it and have fun playing it. If you can do it exactly how I'm describing it with actually any of the options for pull-offs or picking patterns that you can do it, that's great. If not, make up your own thing using this information and just kind of have fun playing this scale. And it doesn't even have to be consistently every time. You can just play. Come back to the G string periodically as you're playing it too. So it doesn't even need to be that religiously over and over again. But sounds really cool, right? Gives you a rhythmic placeholder, makes you sound like you're playing a whole lot more. That was just a scale, but because I have that open note in there, it's like busier, it's more exciting, okay? So there's actually a lot of application that we can use, but again, this is getting pretty advanced, so I don't want to scare anybody off with this. Just wanted to throw this out because it's a really cool little trick, okay? Please join me in another lesson, and we'll check out a really easy song that uses this trick, okay? All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again real soon. Keep picking and have a great day. Bye.